How does that sound to you? Because I have 111 questions designed to do just that. But they will only work if you are nice and comfortable, okay? You have to be open to them for them to do their thing. So just relax. Feeling nice and comfortable, safe, secure. And if anything triggers you with these questions, just sit with it. See if you can still answer the question. Observe the feeling that it brings up out of you. Are you ready? I will be telepathically typing your answers. It's something I had to learn how to do because I'm currently recovering from an injury. So while you might not see my fingers flying across the keys, you will be hearing keyboard sounds. Now, tell me, what is your favorite strategy for avoiding tough situations? What do you prefer to do when things get heated? How often do you do things just for attention? We all need attention sometimes, right? Would you prefer to be manipulated or to be the manipulator? What did your previous partners always tell you to do more of? And what did your previous partners always tell you to do less of? Who do you look to blame when things go wrong? What is the one thing that people assume about you that you wish was true? What is the one thing people assume about you that you wish wasn't true? When was the last time you lied to protect your image? How often do you put on a happy face when you're not really feeling it? When do you think you began putting your guard up so much? Who made you feel most anxious when you were a kid? How do you speak about others when they're not around? What aspect are you most delusional about? How often do you admit that you were wrong? Tell the truth. Which one of your biggest flaws do you like to rationalize the most? Is it your fear of commitment or your fear of intimacy that makes you shut down more? At what stage of a relationship are you most likely to withdraw emotionally? It's getting tough. These are going there. What is one compliment you always get that you're too embarrassed to accept, so you deflect it? Oh, I hope you stop deflecting that one. It's a nice one. What would your ex say is your worst habit? What is the one insecurity that you're pretty sure has some basis in reality? I can't see that one. When was the last time you felt really insecure about the parts of yourself you pretend don't exist? What's the most interesting white lie that you've told? They believed it. Do you ever feel like an imposter? I know the feeling. Do your friends know how competitive you are? Some people, they don't realize. What is the worst part about being in a relationship? What is the hardest part about dating nowadays? How about the hardest thing about being rejected? How do you deal when you know you're being irrationally jealous? How do you deal when you know someone's not willing to give you what you want? What is the weirdest thing you've ever wanted someone to do to you in bed? you went to a therapist today, what would they say is holding you back the most? When was the last time you lowered your standards just to get someone else's approval? What do you like most about being a flirt? Is it fun using your sexuality to get what you want? You know anything about that? Is your need for revenge greater than your need for peace? Have you stopped trying to control things yet? I haven't. Which parts of yourself do you still seek validation for? You're not alone. How do you cope with being unfairly ignored? Do you like punishing yourself for things that are out of your control? What did your coworker say was your biggest problem when communicating? Are you okay with not knowing what happens next? I'm not. Will you ever feel okay with being imperfect? Does sabotaging yourself give you an odd sense of comfort? How do you feel about being disliked by some people? Are you afraid of missing out on love? Because you're always looking for the next best thing. It's a lot to ponder. What's the strangest thing you've done just to avoid failure? What's the biggest risk you've taken just to prove yourself? What's the boldest thing you do every day just to feel like you're still in control? Boldest. accusation would you defend yourself most fiercely against, even though you know it's true? What's the most toxic thing about yourself you actually secretly kind of like? How much do you enjoy being in control? When do you give yourself permission to lose control? What guilty pleasure are you currently justifying to yourself? What is the most passive-aggressive way you've dealt with your rage? What is the pettiest and most immature way you've avoided losing face? What's the worst habit you have that rewards you the most? How do you get your needs met when you're alone? Are you more emotionally stable when you're single or in a relationship? What is the most ridiculous thing you've done to please people? What is the most ridiculous way you've rebelled? What's your favorite way to channel your aggression? What's the most shallow trait in a person you're willing to give up your standards for when you're dating someone? How do you cope with being betrayed? How quickly do you get over an ex, even if you remain friends with them? Are you okay with disliking someone? What is your favorite form of self-destruction? What's the one thing that you struggle most to manifest in your life? We've all got something. What's the one thing you manifest so easily? People are jealous of it. We've all got something. What's the most irrational reason you've ever had for disliking someone? What's the most taboo fantasy you've ever had? What is one fear that you'd be ashamed of your friends knowing about? Which one of your deepest secrets do you think is the least common? What's the most irrational reason that you've liked someone? How do people normally know you have a crush on them? How do people normally find out you hate them? What is your go-to strategy to deflect criticism, even constructive criticism? How do you divert from someone calling you out on something you're afraid to own? What's the one thing you're afraid to own about yourself that others have already pointed out to you? What is one thing people always get wrong about you? What emotion motivates you the most when you're down? What emotion makes you want to give up? people shocked when you stand up for yourself? How often do you say yes to the things you really want to say yes to? How often do you say no to the things that make your skin crawl? What shallow aspects of a person do you focus on, even at the expense of seeing their true self? How far are you willing to go to maintain a relationship, even an unhealthy one? What lengths? What is the one thing you always do, not because you like it, but because you want someone's approval? What would be the one thing you'd be willing to give up just to be loved? What is the worst way someone's ever abandoned you? What is the worst way you've ever abandoned yourself? How do you entertain yourself when you're not around people? Are you happier alone because you enjoy being alone? Or because you prefer it to being surrounded by horrible people? What is the one trait you look for that tells you this person is compatible with you? What habit do you know you could quit, but you don't want to? What is your favorite strategy for avoiding difficult people? What is your favorite strategy for avoiding conflict? What is the weirdest thing that gets you angry? What is the weirdest thing that makes you sad? What do you love most about your sexuality? What do you hate the most about your sexuality? What part of your sexuality do you repress the most? How often do you take responsibility for other people's crappy behavior? Which insecurity would shock people if they knew about it? What do you find yourself justifying to people, even when no justification is needed? When was the last time you tried to please someone who made you angry? What do people often tell you need to focus more on? What do people often tell you need to focus less on? What is the one thing that could make you happy, but you refuse to do it because you're afraid of what others would think? Thank you. I hope these provided insights that helped you uncover the truth, the deeper parts of yourself, and maybe course corrected a few things here and there. Shed some light on your innermost experiences and motivations and drives. I've got playlists of questions. You could probably listen to them for the next year almost. I also love